Welcome back to another episode of the Realness Meets Logic podcast. Man, I promise I'm excited every episode because, like you, even though I structure out my episodes, I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know what's going to flow, you know? All right. So, this episode is episode 7, and it's titled When We're Free. I wanted to give that title some space to breathe because when we're free is such a powerful title. And if this episode resonates with you, I'm sure you will feel how powerful that title is. What does being free look like to you? So, like all of my other episodes, this topic is up for interpretation. It's for whatever you are going through, whatever you needed to free yourself from. That's what this episode is going to be about. All right. So, we're going to break this down into several different segments as we do in our other episodes. So, we're going to start with before we are free, we are comfortable. I want you to sit with that for a moment and think, what is he trying to say to me? Like, well, you probably already got an idea that came to your mind when you heard that. So, comfortability in situations we're not supposed to be in feels safe for us when compared to the idea of being free, because that situation is more predictable and the unknown possibilities of being free is not. So when you're in a situation, when we're in a situation, because we're in it together, when we're in situations that we know are not for us, or at least not for us anymore, because that situation could have been for you in the moment that you've found yourself in that situation, because it's a reason why you were in that situation. But there comes a time where that season must end, as everything does in natural form. The example is nature. There's seasons for everything. And sometimes the situations we find ourselves in is just that. The season is up. And the predictability of that situation is going to make you feel safe, a false sense of safety, even when it's not doing you good, because the unknown can be scary, because it doesn't have what that situation does, which is predictability. But also, looking at the glass half full, flipping that coin, when we look at unknown possibilities, it's like a world of wonder. It could be something so much better for you, so much better fitting for you and who you are and how you are and who you've become today, because that person or place that is the situation that you are in, you may have outgrown that space. You may have outgrown that job. You may have outgrown that relationship. You may have outgrown certain friend groups. And when we have that moment, there's a decision that needs to be made. And it's either you're going to make it or something's going to happen to where you're going to be forced to make that decision to change the situation. Or you're just going to be miserable in whatever situation you're choosing to be in because you don't want to be free. Because freedom comes with so much anxiety, so much stress of the unknown, not knowing if you will get a better opportunity than what you have now. If you're going to find a better relationship than the one that you had to leave for your sanity and to preserve the person that is needed to build the future that you have been called to build for yourself and those around you. Not knowing if you're going to get a better working opportunity, a better job than the one that you just left. Even though you know that you've outgrown that space and it's time for you to move on to something more fitting to who you are, to who that situation has developed you into. So, again, before we are free, we are comfortable. And when we are free, we wake up parts of ourselves that have been buried under that comfort that the situation has given us. I'm sure you have parts of yourself that you really like, that you really valued, that you've neglected and forgot about because of how comfortable you've been in that situation with that person or place that you've been involved with that it's time for you to evolve from. All right. When we're in situations that make us comfortable, some of us, because it ain't all of us, you know, but some of us are not as encouraged to maintain or improve the parts of ourselves that brought us to that situation in the first place. So if it's a work opportunity, I'm sure there was a part of you that had that hustle, that drive. You made sure your maintenance was on point. Your hair was always done. Your nails was always well taken care of. Your hygiene was always on point. Everything about you was on point. That led you to getting that opportunity because you were so attractive based off of how you presented yourself going to these different job interviews, making sure you was on point, networking, using these different parts of yourself that may have gone dormant once you got your foot in the door and you actually gained that opportunity and you've been in that situation. But since you've grown and things became more comfortable, you had no real necessity to use those skills. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. Just like with a relationship, when we are dating, we want to present our best selves. So we make sure our hair is done. We make sure our nails is clean. We make sure we're dressed right. We looking good. We're fitted right. We got an outfit that showcases who we are and what we want to express to that person in a confident, attractive way to gain more suitors and more potential candidates that could potentially be a relationship. But once you're in that relationship, you get comfortable. We get comfortable. And some of those things that we used to do to get us that partner that we've become comfortable with, Once we get in that situation, we get our foot in that door and we start quote unquote letting ourselves go. It don't got to be gaining no excessive weight or anything like that. It could be, but it doesn't have to be that. It could just be you not nourishing and nurturing that part of yourself that helped you to get into that situation, to help you to get that relationship, your mind, feeding your mind the right things, improving yourself, making sure you're always on point with your physical appearance. You may stop doing those things. You may not get your hair done as much when you're comfortable in that relationship because you become comfortable with that situation. But once we free ourselves, that is going to encourage us to get back to those things. Not just to get another situation, but to get back to ourselves and to give back to ourselves because those things help us to feel good. Now, some of us never lost that maintenance. Some of us don't play. No matter what situation they get into, they make sure those parts of themselves will always be maintained and improved. They make sure they keep their hair done. Some of us make sure we always on point no matter what comfortable situation we get into. Some of us make sure we ain't never too comfortable, even if we get that good situation, whatever that is, whether that's work or a relationship. But there's some of us where we get a little comfortable, a little complacent, and we don't take care of things of ourselves and nurture certain parts of ourselves as we used to before we found ourselves in that situation that it's time to let go of. All right. Freeing ourselves gives us the space to get that spark back. So, again, this could be a job, a friend group, a relationship, whatever the situation is for you. Have you ever left a certain situation that drained you and made you feel that you didn't have that much room for change or growth? So you had to leave in order to get that growth and to make that necessary change for yourself and for your life? People grow apart. A person and a professional space could grow apart. Like a person could grow outside of their role. That's a real thing. That is a very real thing. And once you leave that situation and you start developing yourself and pouring into yourself, do you ever find yourself getting that spark back? Getting your smile back? You probably didn't even know that you had a smile to get back. It probably never crossed your mind because you've just been so busy and point A to point B and moving off of autopilot and making sure you get things done that you probably never even realized the spark that left, the spark that fuels creativity, that fuels new ideas, that brings and enhances pure joy, that spark that lights up the light that you share with the world. When we leave some of these situations that are no longer for us, we find our spark, the spark that we didn't even know left. But when it comes back, you'll know. You're going to feel it. You're going to smile a lot more than what you did when you were in that situation, when you were complacent in that situation. When it got to the point where it was time to leave that situation, but you were still in that situation, that's when the spark leaves. And it doesn't leave loud, it leaves quietly over time. to the point where you won't even notice it. Someone around you, your friends, your parents, they may notice it and call it out before you do because you cannot understand just how much a situation is affecting you when you're in the situation, which is why it's good to get outside support and outside perspective when it comes to that situation. Not in a toxic way and not to the point where it could mess up something that's going good, not trying to sabotage anything. But if it's to the point where it's time for you to go, it's time for you to free yourself, it's always good to have people around that can at least see the difference in your shine, the difference in your glow, that can see when your light is dimmed. Because they're not trying to condemn you, they're trying to undim you. That was good. That was good. I don't know if that's a word, but that was good. They're trying to undim your light, meaning they're trying to let your light shine. They're trying to help you to get your light back. And it's easy to lose our spark in situations when ourselves and the person or place we're serving is comfortable with how we've been showing up for them, while leaving little to no room for change and growth in that same situation. If you yourself become comfortable and the other person or place that you are serving in that situation is comfortable with how you've been showing up, and there is little to no room of growth and for change, it's so easy for that light to fade away, for your light to fade away, for your spark to leave, because you will reach a point where you want to grow. You will want to grow. You're changing. But if your situation does not provide the environment necessary for you to grow and change and expand and evolve while you're still in that situation, and it just only give you the room to show up in the same way you've been showing up and nothing more, it's time to go. It's time to choose yourself before you lose yourself. It's time to free yourself. It's time for us to free ourselves from these situations that no longer serve us, especially if that situation does not encourage your growth and the changes that will naturally come from the growth that you desire to have to get to whatever that next level is in your life. All right, we're going to wrap this episode up. Share this message and this episode to whoever you feel resonates to this message and whoever you feel needs to hear this message. All right? If it don't apply, let it fly. All right? Take what resonates, leave what don't. Follow us on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at realness underscore meets underscore logic. Follow us on Instagram at realness underscore meets underscore logic. And follow us on TikTok at realness underscore meets underscore logic. All right. It's your host, Avrion, signing off.